welcome back. We sure hope that you are enjoying the show so far as much as we are. This is K24 This Morning. My name is Shiko Kaitani. Welcome to our social hour. We've got quite a discussion lined up for you. And of course, we want to hear from you on our social media platforms and through phone calls. As always, you can catch us at K24 TV on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Now, when it comes to sex work, how many of us actually consider it as work? Well, according to the Kenya Sex Workers Alliance, its membership continues to increase across the country from county to county, and you'll actually hear it for yourself. But with this key population in its thousands, is it high time we recognize their needs? Now, these needs actually cut from the basic human rights to health and labor issues. What are your thoughts on this? Go ahead, let us know. As you get working on that, let's meet my panel today. I would like to actually welcome Caroline Ngari, who is the technical lead at LVCT. She actually works closely with sex workers. Right at the center, we do have Samson Kimani, who is a male sex worker and from LVCT as well. And last but not least, we've got Caroline Njoroge, who is here with us, sex worker and a program officer at Keswa. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And of course, as we begin this particular discussion, I also do want to give a disclaimer that we do respect our panelists here on the show. And if you wish to contribute to this particular discussion, we ask that you do so constructively. Any form of bashing or insults that will be coming through either those phone lines or on social media will not be aired. But let's start off with you, because we've got Carol and Carolyn. So who do I say Caroline or Carol or Caroline and Carol? Who?
Gary.
Carolyn.
Ngari.
Ngari. Okay, fine. And so for you, I can just say Carol.
Yeah.
Okay. Carol, let me start off with you. We want to actually understand what is called acceptable language when referring to sex workers. You educated me a while back and you told me, no, Shiko, there are some terms which are not right. So let's get it right from the beginning.
So we would like to be referred just as sex workers.
Yeah.
Because a sex worker is someone who works to earn a living. Just like Shiko, you're a journalist. So
Yeah.
I want to be referred just as a sex worker and not a commercial sex worker.
So the commercial should not be there?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we all work for commercial. You're not a commercial journalist.
Yeah.
Because we all make money. Yeah. So I'd like to be referred just as a sex worker.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. From, your work, of course, working with Keswa, why don't you at least help us understand how many are registered, if you are aware of the numbers of your membership?
Keswa, the Kenya Sex Workers Alliance is a movement that
Yeah.
is based on membership.
Yeah.
And as we speak now, we have 75 member groups across the country, which are formal and informal. And we work in all the 47 counties
Yeah.
to amplify the voices of the sex workers and make sure that the health and human rights of the sex workers are upheld.
Yeah. How many do you think roughly you are? Can you guess?
Roughly, we can say that we have about, per group, we have more than 50 members
Yeah.
of each group.
Uh-huh.
So if we do that by 75, we can have roughly like 7 million.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That is a huge network. Yes. Before I rope you in, Samson, very shortly, when we talk about a key population, Gary, when you talk about dealing with their sexual reproductive health issues, why don't you tell us a little bit about what they are facing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. When we talk about the sexual reproductive health issues, when it comes to sex workers, one, we need to recognize that this is a population that is at a higher risk of acquiring HIV.
Yeah.
And currently, from the national statistics, as a country, our prevalence is at 4.9. But again, when you look at the sex workers, their prevalence is actually higher than the national prevalence, which stands at 29.3%. So that already tells you this is a population that is at a higher risk of acquiring HIV, and not only HIV, they are also at a higher risk of acquiring other sexually transmitted infections, which, if you look at them, they all revolve around, you know, the reproductive system or the reproductive organ. So that already tells you this is a population that we need to focus on. For us, you know, to curb this issue of HIV, because again, our vision 2030 is to have zero new infections, to have zero HIV and AIDS related deaths, and also to have zero discrimination. So we cannot achieve these if we don't address the issues that
are currently on the ground.
On the ground.
And Samson, let me rope you into this, because you do see a lot of situations whereby sex workers are not able to access these services despite hearing, you know, the kind of risks that are involved. What actually stops you from accessing the kind of help that you need?
So mostly it's the stigma that we face when we access health services. If anyone else would go to a health facility to seek any treatment, they would be treated well. But the moment the healthcare provider realizes that you're a sex worker, and then the scenario changes. They call others or come and see, or they just want to keep away, or they start questioning, why are you a sex worker? And yet, in real sense, we are all human beings, and we require equal health treatment. So that is why we are trying to make sure that healthcare providers are aware of the rights of sex workers and how important it is for sex workers to access services. Because if they keep away, then the HIV prevalence will go high.
Listen to this. World Health Organization actually states that sex workers have been known to be refused health services when looking for disease protection because of their occupation. Carol, how does that actually make you feel? You know, especially because now if you are in the trade and you feel that, okay, someone is going to deny me these services.
One of the things that makes people shy away from the services is the discrimination that is perpetrated towards the sex workers. And it makes one feel that like you're not one of the...
you're less of a human.
You're less of a human, yes. And again, it also makes one feel that now that you're in your own world, you live in anger. Because nobody wants to be associated with a sex worker. With, if the discrimination and the stigma can be reduced, that we can have an enabling environment for sex workers to live in, to work in, to associate with people, because our constitution tells us that we have a right to association. But once someone realizes that you're a sex worker, even in your environments where you are living, you will be stigmatized. The children will be refused to play with your children. Because you're a sex worker.
So it's not even just the health service providers, it even trickles down to the family members, to friends, once they do realize that. Is that what you see a lot, Ngari, on the ground?
Yes. And what we do as health providers, we have the national guidelines which guides us on how, or rather the package that the sex workers or the key population they should receive. Because one, we need to address the behavioral, you know, issues that surround the sex workers, and then we offer the behavioral interventions. And then again, we need to offer the biomedical interventions and also the structural. And when we're looking at the structural, actually that's where, like, you know, the community comes in. There are the physical barriers. We have now even the cultural barriers that come in. We have the policy issues that also come in that, we need to address for them now to feel at ease to access the services. Because like Carol said, our constitution, that is the chapter 4 of our constitution 2010 on the Bill of Rights, it's so clear that, as Kenyan citizens, we have the right to receive highly attainable health services including the rights to life and also our package to, you know, primary health services.
No matter who you are.
No matter who you are. So the moment we discriminate them, then it shows we are violating the rights, the constitutional rights, that is chapter 4. And when you look at, again, you know, article 2, and then sub-article 5 and 6, again, it touches on matters to do with reproductive health. So the moment we discriminate them and we don't offer that service to them, then we are violating their rights on, you know, health.
Human rights.
Yeah, your human rights.
Samson, even just trying to get a little bit into your life, how were you able to break down what you do to your friends, to your family? Do they even know? I'm sure, of course, now they know because you're on national television anyway. Yeah. And how did they receive that kind of?
At first, it was very hard, definitely, for anyone to accept what you do. It was very difficult. But now, with time, they get to understand. Just like Carol said, it is work like any other. And at the end of the day, we have needs that needs to be met. And that's why we go into it, and our needs are met. And it is also, we don't, apart from doing sex work, we also engage with other people like healthcare providers to ensure that they are able to take good care of us, because at the end of the day, who is my client? My client could be someone who is your relative. So if I am not treated, it means that this will cascade down to my client, who is probably your brother, your sister, and then the HIV or the STIs will be transmitted back to you.
So even just to wheel things back, one of the frequently asked questions is, by the way, is sex work actually legal in Kenya? Why don't you share a little bit about what is, you know, what's legal, what's not, in terms of, you know, what the law says about sex work in this country, Carolyn? I know you're very vocal on this.
Shiko, in Kenya, we do not have any legislation regards to sex work, but we have the penal code that criminalizes sex work. And so to us, sex work is criminalized. And that is why we as sex workers, we seek for the decriminalization, because if sex work is decriminalized like now, then it means that we will be part of the society and have access to the legal services, the health services. There will be no stigma and discrimination. Everybody will be seeing us and perceiving us just like any other person. So the penal code 152 to 156 criminalizes sex work.
So even for you to be sitting here, are you not afraid about what could actually transpire after this interview? And I think that's what makes you guys so brave. Does it put you in trouble, or you are allowed to openly speak about this?
Shiko, speaking about sex work and the criminalization part of the sex work is part of the advocacy for people in this country to know that we exist as the sex workers community, and this is these are the barriers that hinder us to access to services that promote violence against sex workers. So as we speak on the national televisions, is that we are doing advocacy and enlighten and educate other people, and also making sure that the voices of the sex workers who are in rural areas, who cannot speak, who fear because of the cultural and religious norms, that can be heard, and they will have that courage of saying, yes, if a sex worker can speak on national TV, I have a right as well to speak, because we are all bound by the Kenyan Constitution that has given us all the rights. And if the right applies to you as Shiko, it should apply to me, and it should apply to the other sex worker who is in Marsabit, Wajir, and Mandela.
So the question also has just come in, even I've just received this from one of our platforms, that if then you do have the right, then what is the push and pull with law enforcement? Is it that they just will not give you the airtime? Samson, what do you have to say about that? Is what we are seeing actually wrong, what law enforcement are doing to you when you go out on the streets, when you speak up about it?
Mostly there's that pull and pull, but for me what it's important and why I'm here is to be able to ensure that this community is able to come out and seek help, because legal matters there will always be that pull. But remember, your health is your own wealth. As the country is struggling with this legal issues. What are you doing to take care of yourself?
Right.
Will you wait until the government says yes for you to seek help?
Yeah.
By the time maybe they're saying yes, you would have died.
Okay.
But now you would come seek services. That is why we have LVCT Health, ensuring that sex workers, whether you're a male sex worker or a female sex worker, your needs are met. When you come, you'll be given stigma-free, friendly services. Nobody will question what we do. Nobody will laugh or just like push you off.
Or shun you for that. Okay, getting into the risk factors, I actually even want to rope in, you know, a clip I came across on YouTube, but why don't you go first, Ngari, in terms of the risks that are involved for the trade that they are in, and just highlight some of the things that they are exposed to and what makes them so vulnerable.
Well, thank you. What makes the sex workers more vulnerable to HIV is, you know, the high risky behaviors involved, you know, around the work they do, because there is the issue of, you know, unprotected sex, because not all the clients that they serve will, you know, will like comply to, you know,
the request,
the request of, you know, engaging in safer sex, that is using a condom. So that again puts them at risk.
Right.
The other thing is, again, why they are at risk is, like they have said, there is that issue of stigma and discrimination. And then, again, reaching them, it's not that easy. Reaching this community is not that easy. Because now, one, they fear that they'll be stigmatized when they seek services. And again, we do not have, like, in as much as we're trying to have, you know, friendly services, it's something that is not, you know, well, you know, well looked into. So again, we also have, you know, health workers who still do not understand the risk involved, you know, around this population. So when they seek those services, again, when they say, because like if you realize, if you go in a hospital, you're always asked, what is your occupation? I don't know if people ever think beyond, why am I being asked about my occupation?
Good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, I want you to hold that thought because I understand we've got a call on the line. Yes, John from Rongai, good morning. Hello?
Yes, I'm happy.
Yes.
I'm watching, I'm listening to the topic you are talking about.
Right.
Wacha tu nitumie Kiswahili nichangie kidogo.
Okay.
Yeah, sasa hiyo wanasema hapo. Inafaa hata wao waheshimiwe juu unajua hiyo ni kazi, na ukiona mtu anafanya kazi kama hiyo maybe amejaribu zingine, tuseme akakosa, ama akajaribu zingine akabebwa vibaya, so akaona hiyo ndio anaweza, ama ndio iko available kwake. Kwa hivyo sio ati mtu akifanya kazi kama ya sex worker watu wengine wanamchukia, wanaona hafai kuwa Mkenya, wanaona hafai kukaa na watu, ni vibaya sana. Waache tu wafanye kazi, bora tu kwa amani.
Okay.
It was John Bikin.
Thank you so much, John. I guess that's a word of encouragement, you know, for both you, Samson, and Carol. And even just to jump onto, you know, what you had mentioned earlier, when I was talking about that YouTube video, you can even go check it out at home, that actually talks about the neglected truth. There was one sex worker, and this is back in 2015, who talked about how she's HIV positive. She actually went on to say that, by the way, how she ended up contracting HIV is because she was selling sex without protection, and she didn't know that she was at risk. So here she is living, and now she's advocating, right, for safer sex. She talks about having an average of 8 clients in a day. And so she says the reason why we need to pay attention to this is because if someone who is watching this show knows that they procure the services from sex workers, obviously you are at risk. So it's not just you, it is the buyer as well, who's putting themselves at risk.
But also one thing I like about sex workers, they are key, they are in the front in preventing and fighting HIV. It's very difficult for a sex worker to have sex without using protection with a client, unless the client insists and is willing to pay more. But we are on the front line in ensuring that we not only protect ourselves, but we also protect the client. So it's very hard for us to go on just transmitting HIV. Right. We are always, condoms are always available. That is why we have peer educators in place to ensure that sex workers have condom and its consistent use, and that is the message that we normally preach: consistent and correct use of condom, and ensuring that we have condom. That's why even at night you'll find us on the streets of Nairobi giving condoms to sex workers and to anyone who wants. Really? So sex workers are not the barrier in HIV, but they are in the front line in ensuring that we end the HIV epidemic.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You want to add on to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe apart from now the unprotected sex again, there is the issue of, you know, the frequency of their sexual practices.
Right.
Yeah. So in as much as, you know, they are into these, again, the frequency at which they are engaging into sexual practices, again, it puts them at risk. And then there is this issue of alcohol and substance use, because again, we still have sex workers who are either they are using alcohol and, you know, they are using drugs. Yeah. So again, it puts them at a higher risk again of acquiring HIV.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Carol, you want to add on to that point?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Go ahead, and then I can throw the next question to you.
To the point, I will also go back a bit on the pull and push with the legal forces.
Yeah.
Again, if the sex workers are given the opportunity to have an enabling environment, that they can be free to move, access services, and do everything, then we are working towards reducing the HIV epidemic. And these legal barriers, the pull and push, are only there because of the legislations that is put in the penal code. So if we can review the penal code into a term that will make the sex workers have an enabling environment, remove the criminal part, then we're going to have a healthier community of sex workers, which contributes to the whole society. Because a sex worker serves different people and population.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking about your clientele, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to ask you for names, but I would like you to be very open in terms of how diverse your client base can be. Samson, with you being here, a lot of people will just make the assumption that your clientele is only female, but can it be both? In your case?
Yes, it can be both.
It can be both?
Yes.
Okay. Hold that thought. I'm going to get back to you, but Mike is on the line. Good morning, Mike. Hello? Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, Mike.
This is Duncan, actually, not Mike.
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
We can hear you. You're live.
Okay. Basically, I'm trying to say...
Yeah.
I'm also advocating for the sex workers' rights.
Okay.
Yes. Just the way a doctor is being respected, just the way you respect a lawyer.
Yeah.
The same should be applied to sex workers.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Again, I'm trying to say, sex work is a career of choice, and they should not be discriminated at any point.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Duncan saying that it's actually a choice, Carol. Also, the assumption is that you had nothing else to do. And, you know, because you guys were backed up to a corner, this is the only available work that was to you. But it's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. Okay. Joshua from Kirinyaga is on the line. Hold that thought, my dear. Joshua, yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, great discussion. For a long time, I haven't seen you this attentive and inquisitive. Yeah, now allow me to contribute to our discussion.
Okay, yes, briefly, Joshua.
I do not quite understand why commercial sex work is illegal. Because if you do a breakdown, commercial sex comes from two words. Commercial, which means business, and doing business in Kenya is illegal.
Yeah.
And having sex is also legal. So I don't see why we criminalize commercial sex work. That's one. Number two, I don't know why we victimize these people and treat them like they are the devil. These are not the who cause problems in our country. If we give so much power and privileges to our politicians, I see this group being so harmless. I don't see why we criminalize them. We should embrace them and take them as our own. But more importantly, I believe that the Constitution is very clear that no person should be discriminated on basis of whatever orientations that they have. So I'm all for the support and for the rights of people who are involved in commercial business. In any case, this is the only business this is the only group that mixes business with pleasure. So I'm all for them, and I will ask them to come out openly, speak their minds out, and seek all the support that they need. In fact, I support that they open regional branches to enhance their membership in the country. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Joshua. Oh, wow. Okay, so he's actually given very, very many points because he's saying, listen, it's not like you're doing this alone. So it is a societal issue because where are the clients coming from?
Community.
Samson, yeah, go ahead, Carol. Yeah.
So the clients are coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
The religious, the Muslim people. Yeah. Everybody is a client. Everybody is a potential client. The reason why sex work is so high is that there's demand. If today, Shiko, you open a grocer and nobody is coming to buy, then tomorrow you're going to close. But there's demand. The clients are there. Yeah. So it's the society. Sex work is evolving around the society.
Right.
And that's why we must do something very fast.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Last time I spoke to you, we touched a little bit on people who we call indirect sex work. These are people who actually have another profession but actually use sex work to supplement their, their money. So before we go to a short commercial break, be honest with us. There are people who actually have 9-to-5 jobs and at the same time are supplementing what they're doing with sex work.
Very true, Shiko.
Yeah.
Because we have 3 types of sex worker.
Yeah.
They are divided in 3 categories.
Okay.
We have the prepaid sex workers. The
prepaid sex worker?
Yes.
Okay.
The prepaid sex workers are sex workers who are strictly paid for sex. They can't do any other business.
Okay.
It's paid for sex.
Yeah.
And then we have the post-paid sex workers. Those are the people who have 9-to-5 jobs and they supplement with sex work.
Okay.
And then we have the sex workers on contract. These are the sex workers who are married.
Really?
They're married, they're paid dowry for. Someone is owning that woman as a sex worker in the home.
And that is just her job?
That is just her job.
Wow. Go ahead, finish.
So the problem comes in when people fail to differentiate the types of sex workers. Okay. And all are at risk. Because even if you are on contract as a sex worker, remember that the person who has put you on contract will also be going for the prepaid sex worker. Oh. So we need to cut across when we're looking at the legal barriers, when we're looking at the health access, when we're looking at a sex worker as a human.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, Samson, we're going to get to you, but we need to go to a short commercial break. I need you to hold that thought. Most importantly, we want your feedback on this. Is it high time we start to recognize sex workers' needs in this country? You've heard they're in their thousands, almost even in their millions from what Carol has actually told us this morning. Keep talking to us at K24 TV on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, Twitter. I am Shiko Kaitani. We'll be right back.